After months and months of non-stop legal chaos, late-night filings, PR spin, and what honestly appeared to be a personal revenge campaign against Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively really thought she could walk away from this whole mess looking like the victim. However, the judge quickly put an end to that fantasy. Blake is apparently upset because she was recently denied the one thing she most wanted, her legal bills. Furthermore, we are not discussing a few $1,000s here. Tens of millions of dollars, Hollywood-level money, are at stake in this court battle. Even wealthy celebrities become alarmed when the bills come in. In all honesty, Blake Lively appears worse the more information about this scenario becomes public since, according to sources surrounding the case, the court grew increasingly dissatisfied with Blake's legal team's aggressiveness throughout the last phases of the litigation. It appears that there were numerous late-night filings, copious amounts of crammed legal documents, and persistent attempts to get other parties involved in the case into contributing to Blake's legal costs. Imagine, for example, threatening female PR executives and witnesses behind the scenes while pretending to support women. The section that truly caused folks to pause and ask themselves, wait a second, what is actually going on here? According to reports, the judge grew weary of the constant legal drama. At one point, he essentially informed Blake's side that he already had enough material and that they should stop flooding the court with letters and documents. And that says a lot. Judges, particularly federal judges, dislike it when individuals use the legal system as a weapon for personal grudges. They immediately see through that nonsense. Insiders monitoring this case further claim that Judge Louis Lehman was utterly worn out by the ongoing turmoil surrounding Blake's submissions. To be honest, some of the strategies being discussed seem outrageous. We're talking about 70-page filings that are submitted late at night on the East Coast, with only a few pages that are actually focused on the actual legal issues, a lot of redacted pages, and endless fluff. It began to resemble someone attempting to overpower the opposition until they gave up rather than someone battling for justice. Like a single, enormous piece of paperwork intended to monetarily and emotionally drain everyone. The absurd thing is that Blake supposedly thought Justin Baldoni and the other parties involved ought to foot the bill. At that point, the dispute over legal fees became a major problem. According to reports, Blake attempted to use California Civil Code Section 47.1 to recoup her legal costs. The initial purpose of that law was to shield legitimate survivors against lawsuits brought in retaliation. Blake's detractors claim that she attempted to use the law as a weapon against Justin Baldoni, his business, and even PR consultants involved in the case, despite the fact that the entire goal was to prevent victims from being financially wrecked after speaking out in public. And right away, individuals on the internet began pointing out how odd the entire plan appeared. First of all, the litigation was already collapsing in the public eye. Earlier in the process, a number of claims had already been rejected, and after text messages and supporting documentation began to surface, some of the charges were said to have become dubious. The trailer incident, in which Blake allegedly portrayed Justin's entry into her trailer as improper, is one instance that people frequently bring up. However, further communications purportedly revealed that she had invited him inside. Many people began to disregard the entire story after that fact was revealed. The legal gymnastics followed. Blake's team allegedly attempted to use California law in a federal court in New York about a film that was primarily shot in New Jersey. As if that weren't enough, comparable legal tactics allegedly appeared in Texas as well. At that point, this began to feel like, okay, so are we just shopping for whichever state law gives the best chance at forcing someone else to pay the bills? Just desperation, not accountability or justice. Justin Baldoni, meanwhile, wasn't exactly giving up quietly either. That's what adds to the absurdity of the whole situation. Under such pressure from two enormous celebrities like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, independent filmmakers or smaller Hollywood players would typically crumble. However, Justin continued to fight, which evidently surprised a lot of people in the industry. Because keep in mind that Blake wasn't the only one involved. Ryan Reynolds also played a significant role. During the height of the issue, Ryan allegedly used his production business maximum effort, rewrote scripts, influenced advertising campaigns, and helped mold the public's perception of Justin. According to reports, Ryan was fully in the trenches assisting Blake in running this war in the background. However, an intriguing event later occurred. People noticed Ryan's sudden disappearance as soon as the public narrative began to shift. Ryan Reynolds was reportedly down in Bermuda attending sailing events as if nothing had happened, while Blake was out there dealing with reporters and awkward red carpet questions by himself. I apologize, but that had awful optics. Because Blake and Ryan promoted this idealized image of a power couple to the public for years. Jokes on social media, amusing interviews, adorable red carpet moments, the whole Hollywood fantasy package. However, Ryan was absent during what was likely Blake's most significant public crisis to date. The obvious question that arose on the internet was, if Blake was truly innocent and unfairly attacked like they claimed, then why did Ryan suddenly vanish when things got ugly? In all honesty, the disappearance of Ryan Reynolds at the most inconvenient time became one of the main topics of discussion surrounding this entire situation. Because as the legal pressure began to publicly crush Blake, the same man who supposedly assisted her in her battle with Justin Baldoni was nowhere to be found. And once evidence, court documents, and settlement talks were made public, people began to notice how cautiously Ryan appeared to distance himself. Meanwhile, Blake kept doubling down, and this is where the story starts getting even uglier because reportedly Blake's crew grew obsessed with recovering those legal fees no matter what. According to several accounts surrounding the issue, Blake was not only pursuing Justin Baldoni and his company financially, but also targeting other persons related to the situation, including female PR professionals and witnesses. And that's where public opinion really started shifting strongly against Hillary. Because think about the image Blake intended to give to the world. She positioned herself as this fearless lady standing up against big males in Hollywood. That was the narrative, but then behind the scenes, reports started leaking about aggressive legal methods geared at women who simply could not afford the kind of legal warfare Blake and Ryan were capable of paying. And folks were like, hold on. Something about this does not match the public image at all. The judge allegedly observed that, too. At one point, insiders claim the court became visibly frustrated with the continual pressure tactics being employed throughout the legal process. The late-night filings, the massive heavily redacted docs, the non-stop motions. It reportedly started looking like a tactic aimed to tire individuals financially and emotionally instead of focusing on the actual substance of the issue. To be honest, it was impossible to ignore the fractures as individuals began delving deeper into the documents. Because using California's survivor protection laws to characterize Justin Baldoni's countersuit as retribution was a key component of Blake's legal strategy. However, detractors pointed out the obvious problem right away. This lawsuit was not proceeding smoothly under California's jurisdiction. However, California law continued to surface in discussions pertaining to New York and even Texas procedures. Online legal pundits began referring to it as desperation. It seemed as though Blake's staff were seizing any opportunity to make someone else pay these enormous expenditures. Furthermore, the figures being discussed were absurd. According to some sources, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's total legal battle cost close to $60 million. Estimates were raised after more conversations. In any case, everyone agreed that this became one of the most costly celebrity lawsuits in recent memory. The court appeared to be totally worn out at the conclusion. However, it was Blake's public relations machine that truly took this whole event into the realm of celebrity rumors. Because serious crisis management personnel began to show up around Blake's camp as soon as she sensed that public opinion was changing. One name that kept coming up was Nick Shapiro, who is said to have started assisting with the public messaging around Blake's court battle. And this was essentially the argument being promoted in public, according to reports. Women everywhere will no longer be protected from reprisals if Justin Baldoni prevails in these court cases. Listen now. That argument is highly sentimental. Additionally, it was obvious that Blake's team intended that people would emotionally relate Blake's personal lawsuit to those more general women's rights problems. However, Blake's detractors quickly retaliated, believing that Blake was attempting to protect herself from criticism by enmeshing herself in broader social movements. Especially when information began to surface that cast doubt on some of her initial assertions. To be honest, the internet was no longer buying it. People began to perceive this as a tale of celebrity luxury gone wild rather than one of empowerment. Because Blake was attending the Met Gala with opulent items valued at more than most people's yearly income when she was openly discussing emotional strain and legal difficulties. The timing couldn't have been worse, girl. Blake showed up at the Met Gala with cameras flashing, big smiles, and fashion interviews, just hours after the lawsuit settlement details were made public. She then began discussing her personalized pocketbook, which was inspired by her kids' artwork, as though it were a profoundly moving work of art. However, the internet quickly discovered that the high-end designer has been creating those precise personalized bags for affluent customers for years. Then things worsened. people discovered that the bag was selling for about $10,000. Blake was now casually carrying about a small pocketbook encrusted in crystals that was worth more than most people's rent for months, while he talked about emotional difficulties and legal stress. The optics were appalling. And to be honest, every week as the tale went on, Blake just made herself appear more detached from reality. However, what really stunned people after the case was what transpired during the settlement talks. Blake and Ryan reportedly insisted on having an NDA, or complete non-disclosure agreement, included in the transaction. According to reports, they wanted Justin Baldoni to be forever barred from talking about what transpired during this whole tragedy. And to be honest, that alone shows how anxious they were about Justin eventually speaking out in public. Because the storyline had already drastically changed online by this time. However, it is said that Justin Baldoni and his spouse, Emily, declined outright. Additionally, insiders claim that Emily Baldoni was crucial in maintaining her composure throughout the discussions. She reportedly fiercely resisted any effort to publicly quiet Justin. In essence, the message was straightforward: no deal, no NDA. To be honest, Blake Lively may have understood she had lost all control of the event at that point, because everything changed when Justin Baldoni declined to sign the NDA. Blake and Ryan were suddenly unable to ensure silence. The story behind closed doors was no longer under their control. And that must have been horrifying for two individuals whose entire public persona was based on carefully controlling perception. Blake was reportedly desperate to avoid going to trial, according to reports surrounding the deal. Can you really blame her at that point? The public's perception had already drastically changed. Rather than eliciting sympathy, each subsequent file seemed to raise more concerns. Every day, people were analyzing discrepancies on the internet. The strategy was being criticized by legal commentators. She was being targeted by even casual celebrity gossip websites. And the problem is that in high-profile instances like these, once discovery begins to fully develop, it becomes risky for all parties. Emails, text messages, and internal discussions all come to light. Nothing remains confidential these days. That's precisely why so many lawsuits involving celebrities end in settlement before a trial. Because there is no way to go back after everything is made public. Blake ultimately consented to a settlement. However, this is the area that people continue to concentrate on. According to reports, no money was exchanged. No confession of guilt was made. Above all, Justin Baldoni left without being silenced. No lasting limitations, no gag order. There is nothing preventing him from giving public speeches in the future if he so chooses. And it seems that sources in Hollywood already think Justin is getting ready for just that. Because there are currently rumors circulating regarding potential book offers, streaming deals, documentaries, and interviews. According to some sources, Justin Baldoni might get millions for a comprehensive tell-all project regarding all the alleged behind-the-scenes events that occurred during It Ends With Us and the subsequent court battle. To be honest, people would definitely watch it. The whole controversy turned into one of the most weird public collapses in Hollywood history. In particular, it revealed the purported brutality of celebrity PR operations when their reputations are in jeopardy. And that's precisely what Justin's followers think happened to him. They believe that before the evidence could even properly surface, Blake and Ryan utilized all of their famous power to publicly demolish him. They cite synchronized PR messaging, social pressure campaigns, media narratives, and celebrity ties all working against Justin practically instantly once allegations were made. This leads us to Vital Voices, one of the strangest aspects of the whole narrative. Since Vital Voices is meant to be a reputable non-profit organization dedicated to women's advocacy and empowerment, this circumstance truly stunned a lot of people. According to reports, they had given Justin Baldoni an award in recognition of his efforts to empower women and girls. It was a significant public honor. However, the organization publicly withdrew Justin's award nearly immediately after Blake filed her lawsuit. And because Blake Lively allegedly followed the group publicly on the internet, people started making connections very quickly. Critics also started speculating that the timing of things might have been influenced by influential Hollywood connections. Although it's evident that no one can confirm private conversations took place behind closed doors, internet debates erupted over how well-timed everything appeared. After Justin is publicly honored, accusations abruptly surface, the award is withdrawn, and his reputation is severely damaged overnight. For many who followed the tale, it began to resemble a planned humiliation campaign rather than a coincidence. To be honest, that's the kind of content that deeply unnerves the people. Because ordinary people come to believe that the system is biased in favor of affluent celebrities after charities, media outlets, PR agencies, celebrity friendships, and legal pressure all start to converge. Blake continued to appear in public, which only served to damage her reputation. During this dispute, the Met Gala incident in particular came to represent everything that detractors found objectionable in her. Because Blake was out there advertising luxury fashion, talking about personalized items inspired by her kids, and walking the red carpet as if nothing had happened, while the general public was hearing about massive legal fees and psychological distress. And she was ridiculed on the internet for it. It was described as privileged, tone-deaf, and out of touch. Some even claimed that Blake no longer seemed to comprehend how the average person saw the whole thing. Because she was purportedly attempting to coerce others into paying legal fees, while also carrying luxuries valued at thousands of dollars and portraying herself as a helpless victim. It was a harsh contrast. Colleen Hoover is another. To be honest, Colleen Hoover was drawn into the fallout whether she wanted to or not, which made this part of the novel very depressing. According to reports, Justin Baldoni collaborated closely with Colleen and strongly involved her in the acquisition of the rights to It Ends With Us. By all accounts, he had a great deal of regard for the original work. However, people saw that Colleen seemed to publicly tilt towards Blake's side once Blake entered the picture and conflict began to grow behind the scenes. She tweeted encouraging remarks about Blake, unfollowed Justin on social media, and remained mute when Justin faced intense public criticism. And that choice backfired terribly because a large portion of readers now hold Colleen accountable for leaving Justin too soon before all the facts became clear. She is accused by fans of becoming enmeshed in Hollywood celebrity culture and prioritizing status over devotion. Whether that's fair or not, the whole situation undoubtedly damaged her reputation. To be honest, that is the most absurd aspect of the entire incident. Nearly all of the participants left with some sort of injury. Blake Lively's meticulously constructed persona suffered greatly. Every time things go tough, Ryan Reynolds becomes oddly absent. A portion of Colleen Hoover's audience was offended. The PR culture of Hollywood was revealed in unpleasant ways. And Justin Baldoni, who many initially thought was done, managed to walk away while public sympathy began to develop for him. Blake Lively did not anticipate that conclusion at all. After months and months of non-stop legal chaos, late-night filings, PR spin, and what honestly appeared to be a personal revenge campaign against Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively really thought she could walk away from this whole mess looking like the victim. However, the judge quickly put an end to that fantasy. Blake is apparently upset because she was recently denied the one thing she most wanted, her legal bills. Furthermore, we are not discussing a few $1,000s here. Tens of millions of dollars, Hollywood-level money, are at stake in this court battle. Even wealthy celebrities become alarmed when the bills come in. In all honesty, Blake Lively appears worse the more information about this scenario becomes public since, according to sources surrounding the case, the court grew increasingly dissatisfied with Blake's legal team's aggressiveness throughout the last phases of the litigation. It appears that there were numerous late-night filings, copious amounts of crammed legal documents, and persistent attempts to get other parties involved in the case into contributing to Blake's legal costs.